Working on a weekend like usual. Way off in the deep end like usual. Niggas swear they passed us, they doing too much. Haven't done my taxes.
Welcome to From the Seven Podcast, where we always bring a different perspective to the mindsets for the real world. I'm your boy Deuce, always here with my right-hand man Stat.
Yep.
And today we're going to give y'all 5 ways to become more self-aware. Y'all really got to tap into this, man, because there's a lot of people that walk around and know everything about everybody else but don't know themselves.
Facts.
So it's really going to be informational. But before we get into all that, quick announcements.
Yeah, man. Just want to say real quick, man, we appreciate everybody that's been showing love with our first few episodes. It's been a great turnout. It's been dope to get the feedback from everybody, man, and just being able to experience that with you guys. So just want to say thank you first for that. Thank you for everybody who's liked the content, subscribed, shared it with someone, or even just reached out and sent us a message about how it's affecting you and how much you got from it. So definitely thank you for that. But you can get Stat merch in the link in the bio. You can follow From the Seven Podcast on Instagram. We're also on TikTok as well. I'm at Stat Zay, Deuce at _Deuce West. We got From the Seven merch on the way. I don't know what else we got for the announcements, bro.
Bro. I mean, really, again, just to, second what you said, thank y'all for everybody who's reached out, man. Thankful for all the support we've gotten so far. It's just the beginning. Deuce collab coming soon, man.
Yeah, we need
that's gonna be dope. But I think that's good with the announcements, bro.
Okay.
I think we can get right into it for real. I want you to go ahead and I know we talked about this a lot. 5 ways to become more self-aware, man, because like I said in the very beginning, it's very scary nowadays that people can know everything about somebody else but really don't know who they are. So I'm gonna let you start off, man. Give us the first I guess bullet point.
Yeah.
No order, so it's not from importance, but just give us the first bullet point.
Yeah, for sure. And before we get into the first point too, we want to bring as much value as possible with this content, guys. We love the interviews that we're doing. We're going to get more guests in here as well. But we're also going to be attacking episodes like this, shorter episodes where we can give you guys as much value. I've had people reach out and ask me, how I was able to take the leap and do what I'm doing, as well as, people reaching out and saying how they've been affected by the content. So we just want to add as much value as possible. And, it really doesn't start until you become self-aware. And so like Deuce said, it's a lot of people out here that, they look at everyone else and they judge or talk about everybody else, but do you really know who you are? So today we want you guys to really understand, if you already aren't self-aware or if you're looking for ways to become more self-aware, we're going to give you 5 ways that you can do that. But starting with the first one, man, you got to be real with yourself. You got to audit who you truly are, man. And there's a lot of different things that means, and we're going to kind of get into it. But, bro, what's that mean to you, man, as far as, your journey with self-awareness and being able to audit who you are to become more self-aware?
For sure, bro. I think it's not an easy, thing to do. It's difficult, and I think that's why people kind of shy away from it, to be honest. It took me a long time to become really self-aware about who I was. I actually can remember I was about 25 years old. My grandma had just passed away, and it was something that I really wanted to take seriously at that moment and really find out who I was, because I was ready to take the next step in my life. But if you don't know who you are, it's very challenging to even progress in life.
Yeah.
Because again, society tells you now that, they give you all the celebrities, they give you all the people that you can follow and look at. But that doesn't help you become more self-aware in who you are. It just makes you more prone to trying to understand other people. And my journey was, again, it took some tragedy for me to really want to kick into that, but I had to really sit down with myself and look myself in the mirror and ask myself the question of who I was.
Yeah.
So.
And I think with that, man, one of the things that sticks out about, auditing who you are, you have to objectively look at who you are. And what that means is you got to look at what are you good at, and what are your weaknesses, right? So I've heard Gary Vee talk about this a lot, man. He talks a lot about, doubling down on your strengths and don't worry about your weaknesses. But it's not that you don't worry about what your weaknesses are. You also want to acknowledge what those weaknesses are. And when you do that, it helps you become self-aware, because now, like Deuce just said, we live in a world where it's so many distractions that can tell you, this is what you should be doing, right? And when you look at any sector right now, it's all oversaturated. And when you ask yourself, why is it oversaturated? Well, you got the small percentage of people who are doing it because that's who they are, and then everybody else is just kind of following it. Oh, well, that person made money from it, so I'm going to do that too. Or that person got this from it, I'm going to do that as well. And, you know, until you understand what your strengths and your weaknesses are, it's really hard to put yourself into something, whether we're talking about business or whether we're talking about sports, if it's you picking a team that you play for or understanding that relationship with your coaches, like whatever it is, you got to know what you're good at and what you're not good at, because now when you understand that, if you're talking about business, you can look at a business opportunity and say, does this play to my strengths or does this play to my weaknesses, or does it play into both? And in between, is there anything that I can do inside of the business that plays more to my strengths versus my weaknesses? Because in anything, it's a team effort. And so whatever your strengths are, there's always going to be somebody else that can kind of cover your weaknesses. And you knowing what that is, you can acknowledge that and make the best decision again, no matter what, you know, you're doing in terms of life. So I think that's one of the biggest points that I would say, you know, as far as being able to audit yourself, is knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're not.
Yeah, I think too, listen to what you just said, the most important part about that was, you know, identifying your weaknesses. I think a lot of people struggle with that because you don't want to feel like you have a weakness, but everybody has weaknesses. Yeah. And if you identify those, you can constantly try to get better at those things. And that's the most, I think, one of the first components of becoming self-aware is identifying those weaknesses. Yeah. Because you know that you're not perfect. Nobody's perfect, you know what I'm saying, but God. But you really want to tap into those, and it's a constant battle of getting better and making those weaknesses strengths. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and to get better, you have to ask yourself those tough questions. You have to ask yourself, you know, how do I react? How do I react when I put myself in an uncomfortable situation? What is my natural reaction? How do I when I do something that I think I'm good at, am I good at it, or am I making excuses for why I can't get up and do it? It can be something as small as getting up and working out every day, or it can be how you approach your job every day. And I think a lot of times we focus so much on our weaknesses, it can kind of get us down. I know I've been in that situation a lot of times where you look at your weaknesses and you think that's what people see of you. But again, you just want to acknowledge what your weaknesses are. When you understand what your strengths are, you lead with that. Everything that you do in your life, you lead with what your strengths are, and you go into it. And again, when you ask yourself those tough questions, whatever the answer is that leads to your strengths, that's going to point you in a direction that is going to help you audit yourself and take that first step into becoming self-aware and saying, okay, this is who I am when all the chips are on the line and nothing else matters but this, and this is who I truly am and who I show myself to be. So I think that's a very important thing. The next point is you got to understand what the actual truth is, not just your truth. I think this one is very important because we live in a world now, bro, where it's like everybody wants to say, well, it's my truth, it's my truth, it's my truth, right? And if we being honest, like, your truth is relative to what the actual truth is. You know what I'm saying? Like, your truth is really just your appreciation for what the actual truth is, and you have to seek out what the real truth is. Now, what does that mean, right? Seek out the actual truth. Well, you have to get perspective, right? You have to put yourself in situations where, again, if you're auditing yourself, you're going to know what the real truth is. What books are you reading? What are you feeding your mind with? What are you doing after your long days at work? If you're just doing things that are mindless, like watching TV, or you're not putting forth any effort towards something that's going to help you hit that wall or see who you are, it's going to be hard to understand what the real truth is, because what that does is those things are there by design. Like the media, the news, the social media, all of that stuff is there to distract you for a reason, because it's really not doing anything for you. And so you're not getting much from that. You have to go out and seek that knowledge of those things that help your strengths out. And I think that's where you start to understand what the real truth is and the reality of the situation that you're putting yourself in.
I agree, bro, 100%, because, tagging back to when I said I became, or was, taking that leap of becoming more self-aware of myself, I took a social media break. I think I told you about that, but it was cool because exactly what you just said, the media and everything puts that out there for you to be distracted, and you do become more distant from yourself. And because I took that break on all the times that I would usually pick up my phone and look at social media, I picked up a book and I read a chapter. I looked at a video of, kind of like motivation. I had hard conversations with my family members that I never really had before. And it gave me a different perspective.
Yeah.
And without that, I was going to just stay in that same kind of bubble. And just like you said, I would have fell into that trap of getting distracted.
Yeah.
And not finding who I was and not trying to even find who I was. And that all came because I found a different perspective on a different outlook on different things. And the books you're reading is very important. Like you said, the conversations you're having are very important. The uncomfortable conversations that you're having are very important. Because we live in a world now, we always talk about this, people want to be comfortable. You know what I'm saying? You got to get uncomfortable to grow. So I agree with you 100%, bro. I think that's a good point to tag off, and people need to hear that, bro, because, again, people don't want to have those uncomfortable conversations, but they're needed. They're very needed.
You got to really look at, I think a lot of times when you're talking about understanding the actual truth, you have to look at everybody is brought up to know what their normal is, whether it's you look at what you do in your culture or what you do in your neighborhood, what your friend group does, that becomes your normal, right? And that's where people say, well, that's my truth, all the things you experience in that. But to get the actual truth is you have to take those experiences, but you got to drop your biases and understand the world is a lot bigger than what your normal is. And when you start to get out of your comfort zone and you start to do new things, you start to understand what the real truth is, because you realize we're all connected. We're all alike. But somebody's normal might look different than yours. But if you dig deep into what their normal is, they've dealt with the same things you have. And it broadens your perspective on what it really is out here. And I think a perfect example of it is, not to get too much into it, but when we talk about like race, right? Like the media is always trying to divide black and white, right? Sure. But we all have grown up with people of different races, and we all have very much a lot of similarities in how we grew up. And it's not necessarily what they show in the media. And so if you're somebody who you just come home and watch the 5 o'clock news, you're going to be picking sides and doing all of that. But if you outside or you putting yourself in a situation where you got to co-mingle and work together with other people, you realize it ain't really what they say it is. Now, don't get me wrong. There's injustices and things like that. But to understand what the real reality is, you have to get out of your comfort zone and broaden your perspective. Because once you broaden your comfort zone, and you stretch that comfort zone, it can't ever go back again. Yeah. So when you start to see those things that are distractions, you can point it out and say, no, that's not true. And the other side of that is when you do see that, if you say, well, no, that's not true, and somebody's kind of fighting that point of yours and disagreeing with that point, then go seek that out and see, okay, well, what's their perspective, right? And I think that's how you understand what the actual truth is. And that kind of goes into my next point, with becoming more self-aware is you have to seek out feedback. You have to surround yourself with people. Your friend group should not be people who are just telling you what you want to hear. Just like you said, people get comfortable and they stay in that comfort. A lot of times they stay in that comfort because of their friend group and their family and the people they're around every day. They go to work every day. Everybody's complaining. Everybody's talking about this, that, and the third. And you become comfortable in that, because if you ask anybody who does that, are you comfortable? Like, are you being comfortable? They're going to say, no, man, I'm going through this. And they're going to tell you like they actually out here out of their comfort zone every day. But in reality, they're being comfortable, right? And we all can relate to that. And again, I know I can as well in my own, story, just seeing the jobs that I've worked. And after a while, you just kind of get into a complacency. And so when you surround yourself with a group of people that, one, are going to be able to tell you the truth. And to do that, it's not just like you say, hey, guys, tell me the truth. You have to cultivate that thick skin to make those people feel comfortable to tell you what the truth is. Because if not, everybody wants to feel that comfort.
I was just going to bring up a very valid point of that is when you ask for the truth, you got to accept it, and your reaction to the truth is going to kind of dictate how your circle is going to continue to either tell you the truth or say, I can't tell him or her the truth because I know how they're going to react. Yep. So when you ask for the truth, you're not asking for it just to say that you asked for it. you really got to actually want the truth.
Yeah.
And do something with the truth.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people will just, and me and myself, I've never had a situation where I've really reached out for feedback, but I need to start, and I actually need to understand that if I'm ready to take that step, I need to be ready to receive that, right? And do something with it, not just to say I did it. So that's a very, very important point. And what you just said is the people surrounding you have to feel comfortable, because nobody's going to tell you the truth if they know you're going to act the ass.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to be like, I can't tell her or tell him the truth because I know that they're going to feel some type of way.
Yep.
But in reality, you want to give people the truth to see how they're going to react, because this may be somebody that you shouldn't be holding on to.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what a lot of times people get confused is being more self-aware means I'm going to maybe understand who's around me and if they should be around me.
Yeah.
Because
the only way to do that, like the only way to portray that out is not to go to your friends and say, hey, I'm portraying this out, right? It's going back to the first point. You got to audit yourself and know what your strengths and your weaknesses are so you can start putting in the work on your own. And then when you start to change yourself, you're going to even notice things about your friend group, and you're going to say, damn, maybe they're not as self-aware, or maybe they haven't really asked themselves them tough questions. And then you can come to them and you can say those things, because the other side of it, man, the uncomfortable truth is this: a lot of people say that people are their friends without those people showing them that they're their friends. And I talked about this all the time, where the story about Soulja Boy. I'm into documentaries, and I remember Soulja Boy had a documentary back in when he was first popping off with the Superman dance and all that stuff. But he had a documentary where he was talking about, you know, going on tour, and he had his friends with him, and he pays for everything, right? Because he's the only one out of the friend group that made it. So they go to the hotel, he paid for everything, he getting everybody food and all this stuff. And he said, yo, I put my friends to the test to show me where they at. Like, y'all don't have to do nothing. It's nothing y'all can do for me that I can't do for myself. But if I just pay for everybody food, we staying at the penthouse, I'm going to ask my guy, like, hey, bro, can you go downstairs and get us some forks? And I'm going to see how you're going to react to that, because in the grand scheme of things, that's something that's minuscule, right? But it's that important because it's so small. And if your response to that is, well, why you can't go get them and I just pay for everything, then what are you really here for? Are you here for just your best interest, or are you really here because you respect the opportunity you have and our friendship? And are you going to say, you know what, bro, I got you because I understand what you did to put us in this situation? And a lot of people run from that. A lot of people will know somebody for 20 years, 30 years and say that's their friend, and they've never put them in a situation to show that they're their friend. And so a lot of times when you're becoming more self-aware, you can kind of stop yourself because you see that coming. And when you start to see that your friends ain't really aligned with their self-awareness, it's hard to try to approach them and say, hey, tell me about me, because they can't even tell themselves about who they are. And that creates a division between you and those people. But if you truly want to be self-aware and truly want success, because again, the first trait to becoming successful is being self-aware, you got to understand everybody can't go with you.
But
and
you want
that's
to
a
know
perfect thing to do.
You want to know why that's so, I guess, people are fearful of that, because it's a lonely road.
Yeah.
To be honest, like when you actually sit with yourself and you analyze who's around you, you analyze who you are, a lot of those people are not supposed to be with you.
Yeah.
But you're so comfortable, again, the word comfortable, with those people that you're really ready to sacrifice who you really are to make those people feel comfortable as well. Because really, if you be honest, if everybody was to tell the truth, the world would be a better place, but your circle would change.
Yeah.
And people are so kind of infatuated with having everybody feel happy around them when they're not telling them the truth.
Yep. And
they're not ready to understand that they're going to give them the truth back. So they like, all right, let me just be comfortable here. Let's just stay here.
Yeah.
And I think that's the, most uncomfortable truth about becoming self-aware is it's a lonely road, man. And people got to understand
bro.
that.
It's one of those things where, like, even with us, like, I don't talk to a lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't hang around a lot of people, and a lot of people say that, right? And I understand everybody has their different reasons for that, but like, me, I'm the type of person that I'm always going to, because I want the best for everyone, and I would want somebody to do the same for me. And of course, you can't expect people to be you in response to things, but like, if you around me, I'm gonna tell you, if you're doing something that's out of character or that's something that's detrimental to who you are, if I consider you somebody that I care about or you my friend or whatever it is, I'm going to tell you about that for two reasons. One, because you need to hear it because a lot of people ain't telling you that. But two, I want to see how you respond to it, you know? And for me, I want to get to those situations where, hey, I don't agree with you on this, or hey, there was something that you did and I'm going to tell you like, bro, that wasn't cool. Just so I can see your response, because a lot of people going to run from that and say, man, forget that dude, man. He ain't real. He hating on me and da-da-da. But it's like, no, it's really just a lack of communication and a lack of self-awareness. Because if you were self-aware about who you were and you can really look at yourself in the mirror because you've done the work and you can say, you know what, this was my perspective. I'm sorry if it made you feel this way, or you can have that conversation. Now that friendship and that bond is a lot stronger. And even if that person isn't as self-aware as you, they've taken a step forward, and that's what a true friendship is, and that's what a true circle is. And so many people, they run from that, man. And that's why for me at this point, I don't hang around a lot of people, and I'm accepted even more because I study a lot of successful people as well. And when you look at the people at the top, a lot of people, what do they say? Oh, well, that person switched up. They don't come back to the hood, or they don't do this, or they don't do that. It's because they understand that they've done the work on themselves and they can't pull somebody that don't want to come. And they're not going to waste their time explaining that to anybody. You know what I mean?
And you know, too, that's a weakness. You know, when people kind of tell you about yourself, that's a weakness. And what I said in the beginning was people don't want to kind of face their weaknesses. So that's when it taps into what you just said about people kind of can shy away from it, or he hating, or
they're going to come up with something to justify why they don't want to accept what
exactly,
that
because they can't really understand a weakness, because they don't know what a weakness is, because they don't identify their weaknesses on their own. If you identify your weaknesses on your own and somebody tell you about the weakness that you already know you have, all right, cool. I gotta get better at that. I gotta get stronger at that. I gotta work on that constantly. But if you're not identifying your own weaknesses and somebody tell you a weakness that you have, all hell gonna break loose, because you don't know how to accept it, because you haven't even accepted it for yourself.
No, facts, bro. And
that's key.
And before we go to the next point, the thing about that is like, the only time that you're going to feel like that in response to somebody telling you something is because, one, you either know it's true, or two, you don't want to accept it because it's true. And you have to really put yourself in a situation where you say, you know what? If I truly believed what I'm saying and they're wrong, I wouldn't be this upset about it. Because one thing that I've realized about the world we live in now, and you already said this, is that people just want to hear what supports what they believe in. But I see it like this. If you truly believe in it, then why aren't you challenging it more?
Let me add one more in there, bro. Let me add a number 3 in there. The reason that they are kind of blown away by it is because you're the first person that told them that. Because everybody else is kind of scared of. Exactly. Everybody else is kind of scared of, like, damn, I don't want to ruffle no feathers. Let me go ahead and say what I think they want me to say.
You see it a lot in sports, bro.
Absolutely. So when you are the lone shark to tell somebody the truth, they like, nah, he has to be the crazy person, because my 1,000 followers on my page, my 15,000 followers on my page told me I'm the best. So if he's identifying someone I need to work on, he got to be the crazy person, and I can't really bang with him because he the all ball out. When really I need to be listening to him and the 15,000 people that's praising me. Y'all got something wrong with y'all. So what's the next one, man? This is good. This is good.
No, I'm loving it, man. If you guys got something from it, man, like the video right now. Subscribe to the channel. Again, this is 5 ways to become more self-aware. We gave y'all 3 already. And those 3, I'm gonna look at my notes here, man. Be honest with yourself, man. Audit who you are. That's the first point. Again, in no particular order. Understand the actual truth and not just your truth, right? Seek out knowledge and seek out and challenge those things that you think you know. Drop those biases from where you come from and who you are, right? And really seek out that knowledge to become better and know your strengths and know your weaknesses, and add that to the bucket of things that you know so you can be stronger in who you are, right? The next one is try new things, you know, attack that discomfort. You got to get out there and do different things. You got to go out there and take those risks. Was that the next one, or did we talk about that already?
I don't know, bro. I think that was the next one, bro, which is good. If that's the next one, that's good.
Okay. Yes. Sorry.
Get out there.
That's the next one there. You got to take risk, right?
Yep.
You got to try new things. You got to put it into action. You have to make it something that is just like when you go in the gym and you putting up shots, well, the only way to know if you're getting better is if you're in the game making shots, right? Because there's a difference between going in and shooting 500, a difference between going in and making 500, and then there's a difference between I'm going in and I'm making 500, but I got to do it in 30 minutes, and I want to see how close I can get and putting that mental game pressure on myself so that in the game it can translate. It's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
So you got to take those risks. You got to attack that discomfort, and you got to experience the unknown. So the next one, take full responsibility of your life. Huge one. You can't blame anybody for where you at other than yourself. I've been a victim of this. I think we all have. You look at, how you were brought up. You look at all the struggles you went through. I mean, even us, we talked about our origin stories and all the things that affected us coming up. And we shed light on those things because it's made us who we are. But there's a thin line between that and letting it be something that you think you're special because you went through it. Because there's going to be somebody else who went through the same stuff you did or more, and they were able to still take that situation and they were able to win. And the only way to get to that point is you got to take full responsibility for who you are and what you've done and the decisions that you've made. And when you're talking about self-awareness, the longer it takes you to become self-aware, the more I see people try to act like they can point the finger because they're like, well, I didn't know. Like, that's almost the attitude behind it. It's like, well, I didn't know. But the truth of the matter is this: no matter whether you knew or not, it happened, and you have to do the work to reverse those things and know, again, your strengths and your weaknesses and find out who you truly are and say, you know what? I'm here because of everything that I've done, regardless of how it went down. I'm taking full responsibility for where I'm at today and who I am because of all the things that I had to go through to become self-aware to the point that I am now. And understand at that point, you realize how much you don't know, and then you become a student of life and you start to double up on the things that you learn because you realize you got to cover that ground.
I'm going to chime in right there, bro, because, we went over points with each other, but I didn't know you was going to say that one. And when you was talking, it made me, relive a story that I went through and something that I really just, kind of fixed in the last year or so. Becoming self-aware is always an ongoing battle. It's not I'm self-aware and I'm done now. I'm done. Like, I'm self-aware. I don't got no improvement. It's always, you can always be more self-aware, right? And when you said that, bro, I blame my whole college career on an assistant coach that was at my school, right? Past 5 years, that's all I talk about is how I hate him, how he messed up my career, all this stuff. When I told you I was 25 when I started really taking that journey of becoming more self-aware or becoming self-aware in general. Recently, last year, bro, I put that to bed. I flipped the script on it. I said, I can't blame him. What did I not do?
Yeah.
Right? And as people, as young people, pointing the finger at somebody is easy and it's comfortable because you kind of have an out. You did that. It's cool. Right? The uncomfortable part is when you become self-aware and you say, the finger goes from here to, dang, what did I not do?
Yeah.
Because there's no reason why, bro, I could allow my career to be in any hands besides my own hands. I didn't work out as much as I need to. I didn't hit as many shots as I needed to. I didn't play as hard as I needed to. If I do all those things, he can't deny me. Yeah. Instead, I made it easier for that decision to be made because I didn't do those things. Once I let that go, I knew I was still on my journey of becoming more self-aware. Yeah. And that's why I think that point is so important, bro, because you really got to take charge of your life, sit with yourself, right? You got to sit with yourself. If you don't like what's going on in your life, you don't like what's happening around you, when you sit with yourself, change it because you are in control, yep. Right? You are in control. When you're not self-aware, everybody else is in control because you don't even know who you are, what you stand for, your strengths, your weaknesses. You're letting somebody else dictate your whole life at that point. Yep. And that's why I said it's always an ongoing battle because I told you I was 25 when I started making that journey. I'm 29 now. Last year I was 28 and I just had that to put to bed. and change this to this.
Yeah.
So it took me 3 years in between to become more self-aware. So it's not like we're telling everybody, hey, y'all go out here and do this, y'all good. This is a battle, but it's better to start earlier. Of course, we talk about it all the time, bro. A lot of kids that we see now, they don't have it.
Yep.
But we always say, bro, what if they had it then at 18? What if we had this at 19? What if we had this at 20? 9 years later, 10 years later, our lives would be totally different. So it's an ongoing battle. It's not easy, right?
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's worth it. Because I would rather walk around and know who I am, know really what I stand for, and allow people to accept me or not, rather than going around lost. But I know everything about you, but I don't even know who I am.
Yeah, bro. And, one of the things that, the timing of this episode is so important, because if you look at all the episodes we've done up until this point, every person who's been on here as a guest has shared their story. And to touch on what you're saying about it's an ongoing battle, it's like, if you listen to any episode that we've had up until this point, you can hear that through their story. From a young age, you're just trying to figure it out, and then you start to experience things and see things, and you start to have things happen that you don't understand, and then you start to get older and you start to understand those things a little more, and then now you end up in a place where, damn, I used to play basketball and that was my whole life, but now I'm doing this, or now I'm doing that. Now I got this business going, or I'm working this job, or I want to go do these things and make this impact. And, being self-aware earlier does help. But again, like you said, it's an ongoing thing, and it's something that, like you said, the younger you can pick up on becoming self-aware, the better. And I say that to say this, because it's still going to be a lot of young people that's going to have to try to go through life and figure things out, right? But one thing that's not going to change is you can look at your life and see that there are always indicators and always different obstacles that showed up that we're going to be there to show you this is an opportunity to become more self-aware.
Yep.
And when we're talking about sports, which is something that we all can attach to in the beginning, like you said, I mean, even talking about not making the school teams or all these things, it's the saying, it sounds so cliche, life is 10% what happens and 90% how you react to it. You can't truly live that out unless you're self-aware, because let's put it in perspective. When you didn't make the team in middle school, or all of the things that you had to deal with in your basketball career, the lack of self-awareness made it hit you that much harder. It didn't make it easier to deal with, but it hit you harder because you don't know how to respond. You don't know what it's telling you. You don't know if it means I'm not good enough, right? But when you turn that mindset into, what is this trying to show me? All right, well, maybe I should work on my game a little more. Well, I don't really know how to work on my game. Well, let me go ask somebody, right? That's how you become self-aware. And again, it goes back to the first point: audit who you truly are.
Yep.
What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And you can pinpoint those. And when those situations arise, that is an obstacle, you seek out those people that can tell you the truth, and you don't run from it like most people. You say, look, man, I went through this and it's bothering me, and I don't really want to talk about it, but I gotta attack it. And one last thing too, Kobe said this about I think it was Breonna Stewart when he came out with he was doing the film study joints or something like that. And I remember when they had lost, didn't they lost the national championship, and either she called him or they got in contact with each other, and the first thing that either he told her to do or that was the next thing that she should do was, he said, go watch film. After you just lost a game, most people are going to sit in that, right? Most people are going to pout and point the finger and, man, this happened, that happened. But he said, go watch film. And what he was telling her is, you got to look at this for who you are and see how you're going to bounce back from this after the fact. And I think that that's a perfect example, whether we're talking sports, business, or life, of how to attack self-awareness and the point of everything that we're trying to, talk about.
And I think too, man, when you attack self-awareness and you gain it at an earlier age, you save a lot of energy. And saving a lot of energy is detrimental to who you are as a person, because you start to realize that a lot of the energy that you give off or you seek, if it doesn't serve you or your purpose, it's easy to let it go. But when you're not self-aware and you don't know your purpose or you don't know who you really are, that energy can transform you into somebody that you're not. And we've seen that a lot, bro, where I've seen people who I even grew up with that's like, oh, that's not you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's not who you are. That's not how you act. That's not how you was raised. Is it because they lack self-awareness? I would put my money on that. You know what I'm saying? To really sit with yourself and understand that I'm not this person. Because now what's happening is, like I said, society and social media, the way that it can taint you is, damn, this is the cool way for me to act. So let me act this way. Even though it's not me, let me act this way.
Yep.
And then when you sit down with him and you have a conversation with him, it's like, what? That ain't what you talking about on Instagram, or that ain't what you talking about on Facebook, or any platform that people who really don't know you can only validate you off of what you give out and not who you truly are. And the faster you become self-aware, man, you skip all those things, bro, because you're not in it to please anybody else, right? You have what you have for who you are, and the people that's for you is going to come into your life. The people who are not for you are going to stay away, and you should want that, right? I'm not somebody that want a lot of people that's around me that's not for me or have the same values as me.
Yeah.
And we see that a lot of times in people who blow up and people who make it. Like you said earlier, people are like, damn, he changed. It's not that he changed, it's his mindset changed, right? Number one, or he became more self-aware and realized that
I can't serving you the same.
Yeah, way. I can't really, we're not even on the same common ground. So love is not lost, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. And even us doing this, bro, we start to see people change a little bit. It's unfortunate, but that's a part of the journey almost. Like, that's really a part of it. It's like when you become more self-aware, you lose a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Because they don't even identify what that means, and you look crazy to them, but it's because they don't want to sit down with themselves and face that for themselves. And I can encourage everybody out there that's listening, that's really getting something from this. When you see yourself improving and you see the people that's around you drop off, it's not a bad thing. Yeah. It's not a bad thing. You really have to embrace that, and you really have to understand that this is a part of me becoming more self-aware. These people don't serve the same purpose as I serve, and I can serve and protect my energy at that point. And once you identify that, man, that's a step in the right direction as far as becoming more self-aware. So that's a part of the game.
Yeah, and you can't get too high. Like when we talk about, all the people we've seen, man, that people get told things that they don't even know why they're getting told, but because it's good, they getting all the praise. They not questioning it. They just taking it and thinking that's how it's gonna always be. But no matter how high you are or how low you are, you got to ask yourself, who am I? Who am I really? Right? We talk about that in sports. Who am I when I take this jersey off? I might have the talent. I might can show up. I might can get buckets, and I might can have all these things going for me. But in the back of your mind, it's something that's missing because everybody just being yes man, right?
Yep.
And we live in a world where people do that until they get everything they want from you, and then once you're done, they go to the next person, and now you're sitting there holding the bag and wondering what happened, right? And now you're mad at the world because you let that stop you from becoming self-aware. I talked about it with Reese on his episode. I'm glad I didn't make it D1 or to the league because life hit me really quickly that way, and it allowed me to ask myself those tough questions and become more self-aware. And I'm not saying that you got to go out and fuck your life up, but what I'm saying is that no matter what happens in your life and no matter how it plays out, you have to take those punches and say, what is that cut trying to teach me? What is that hit trying to teach me? What is this showing me about who I am? Because no matter what, I can't control what happened, but I can control what feelings I had. And a lot of times those feelings come from not knowing your strengths and your weaknesses and all the things that we're talking about, and not having those people around you to tell you the right or the wrong things, and not understanding what your path is and what's for you, because you got to understand what's for someone else ain't for everybody, and what's for you ain't for everybody. Yep. So you got to stop looking at all the outside stuff.
And you want to know what another I know you kind of mentioned sports, but a lot of times, bro, it happens in relationships. When you have two people that's not self-aware, or you have one that is or one that isn't, it makes it harder because now I am going to sacrifice who I am and the progress of me trying to find myself because I care about this other person. And that happened to me, bro. It happened to me in a way of when I decided to say, damn, let me find myself, because I've been giving myself away this whole time, but I don't even know who I am. How do I have enough to give myself away when I don't even have myself to give?
Yep.
And once people understand that, you start to become more self-aware in a sense of, let me figure out who I am first before I want to learn somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's why I said that's why I said in the very beginning, people know everything about everybody else. I can read off who this person is, who they dating, who they slept with, who they did, who they text, who they cheating on, but I don't even know who myself is.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And that's why this message needs to be pushed, because people got to sit down with themselves, understand who I am before I can even go out into the world. Because once you do that, the world is going to look totally different.
Yeah.
Because you're going to know what to accept, what not to accept. And you're not going to care about a lot of people who don't want to come with you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So that's my last thing, man. I think those points were awesome. One thing I did want to say, though, one thing I did want to add in to those 5 things, because that was the 5th thing, right?
Yep, that was the last one there. Yep.
That was the last one. One thing I did want to add in, bro, is when you decide to want to find out who you are, right? Because the reason it's delayed is because when you're a kid, you're told what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Mm-hmm. When you're a teenager, you're going off of what looks cool.
Yep.
Let's just keep it a buck.
Peer pressure.
When you're a young adult, you're going off the trend of, this is what I think I should be doing. When you hit our age, it's like, damn, what do I actually want? Think about all the time you could have saved if you would have did this when you didn't think about what looks cool. Yep. Right? You were on that wave, and the way you were treated, you didn't really understand, and it made you an outcast. And as a kid, it's hard to accept that. Yeah. Right? And you can even attest to that. But what I want to push to everybody that's listening, especially young adults, who gives a damn? Don't give a damn about that, because that doesn't matter.
Yep.
That does not matter. None of that stuff matters. What we thought mattered as a teenager, we don't even think about those things now. Those things aren't even relevant. Imagine if we would have took the time to figure out what we wanted and who we were at that age.
Yeah.
The world is so big in a sense of there are so many voices coming at you, especially when you make it. Just like you said, D1 or going to the league. Some of these young kids now are getting that satisfaction of, I'm in the league already in high school.
Yeah.
Now delay their progress of becoming self-aware.
Yep.
They might not get self-aware until that jersey really come off, or they 40.
Bad place to be.
Super bad place to be, man. So my last message was, really understand that. Find out who you are. Really, really understand that it does not matter who you think should be with you. You're going to find out. Just like you said, Soulja Boy is going to find out who's really for him and with him, because of the fact that he can understand who he is.
Yep.
Because like you said, they couldn't do nothing for him that he couldn't do for himself. Yep. Soulja Boy already knew he was Soulja Boy. He may be something different now, but at that time, he knew who he was. Mm-hmm. So let me figure out who's around me now. Yep. And the only way you can figure out who's around you is if you can identify who you are. If not, you don't understand nothing.
Exactly, bro.
That's my last point, man.
No, I think that was good, bro. And yeah, I know we gave you guys a lot of information, but go back and listen to this again if you need to, man, because these are all things that we practice on a day-to-day basis. We always try to implement every single day, things that we're still working on. We're not here saying we perfected these things and we're telling you guys what to do. This is something that we actively are doing every day, because at the end of the day, it's about strive to achieve together. And that's what the message is behind Stat and behind this platform is it's an ongoing battle, and you have to build up an army of people who are like-minded. And the only way to become like-minded is the first step, and that first step is self-awareness. So, again, I'm going to go down the steps for you guys. Leave a comment and let us know what are you dealing with the most, and what step that you think you need to implement more, and let's hold each other accountable, man. And for the people that do reach out to us and show us love, let us know what you guys thought about this, because we want to continue this conversation. And I think this is a great first episode for us to be able to attack something like this, where we're trying to add that value to people's lives, because again, these are things that we talk about when the cameras are off. And our goal with this platform is to be able to bring it in front of the camera and talk about those things, because we talk about this all the time. And so it's something that's very important, especially in today's world. But again, I'm gonna go ahead and read off of these points, and if you need to, man, write them down. But the first one, be honest with yourself. You know, audit who you are, man. Be objectively honest about who you are, what you're good at, what you need to work on. Don't get confused with the person that you see today with the person that you want to be in 10 years. Understand who you are right now and what things are you good at and that you can call a strength, and what things that you need to improve on. Ask yourself those tough questions. Do you want to always be right in situations when things come up? Do you neglect responsibility just because you don't want to look wrong, right? A lot of people fall into that. So ask yourself, is that how you respond to things? And if it is, you need to do a little bit more auditing on who you are, because you always want to gain more perspective to be able to know who you are and challenge those things that you think are right, and don't think just because I'm saying it and it's my truth that it's right. You know, when you have times where you need to get things done, are you making excuses, or is it a legit reason for why you shouldn't do it or can't do it, right? A lot of times it comes down to excuses, you know, but ask yourself those tough questions. And again, by auditing who you are and what you're good at and what you're not good at, you're going to be able to point those things out. The next point, understand the actual truth and challenge what your truth is. We all come up and we're brought up with our own normal. Challenge that. Again, do you always want to be right when things come up? When somebody challenges things that you believe is right, what's your response to that? And are you seeking out things that challenge what you believe to see if that's the actual truth? Because again, your appreciation for the truth is your truth, but the truth is still going to be the truth no matter what. And you got to put yourself in situations that are going to allow you to see what that is. And that goes into the next point of try new things, attack that discomfort, and take those risks. Experience the unknown of, once you start to audit who you are, you're going to start making different decisions for yourself. And no matter what your friend group is saying, or no matter what's going on around you, you're going to put yourself in a situation to attack that unknown space to see, again, is this who I really am? Is this what I'm good at? Is this what I'm not good at? Is this how I respond to things? Is this a situation where I just want to be right? Or can I really objectively look at this and see, okay, maybe I had it wrong here, or maybe I could have improved there, right? The next point, take full responsibility for your life. You are where you are today because of the decisions that you made every single day up until right now of you listening to this episode. And no matter how it went, no matter who did what to you, you're responsible for where you're at. And every decision that you make is going to lead to you understanding that I'm not special and people go through shit and we're all more alike than we're different. And when you understand that I'm not special, we all go through stuff, you can accept, okay, this is making me a better person by going through this, and it showed me who I am, and now I can move forward, right? And then the last one, seek out that honest feedback from a friend or a mentor. Surround yourself with people who are going to be honest with you, who are going to allow themselves to tell you what the truth is. Cultivate that thick skin by auditing yourself so that you can put yourself in a situation where those people can be honest with you, because you always want to push people around you. If everybody around you is not making each other better, you're not applying this principle. You have to put yourself in a situation where you're auditing who you are and making different decisions, and then you're putting people around you in the same situation to give you feedback on that. You give them feedback on what they're doing, and if those people don't want to be around you, those people aren't for you. So again, those are the 5 steps there. But I don't know what else you got, bro.
I'm still battling myself, bro. I'm still going. I'm still improving. And that's what I want people to understand is we're not here to try to tell people like, hey man, we got it all figured out. Yeah. Like, bro, this is an ongoing battle, and I write down my strengths, I write down my weaknesses, and I self-reflect on my life, and I stop putting the blame on others, and I take accountability for it. And that's all a part of my journey of becoming more self-aware. And the day and the moment that I stop trying to better myself to become more self-aware is the day that, you know, I got it all wrong, right? Because every day you can get better. And every day as you continuously grow, you find more weaknesses that you want to strengthen and make those strengths. You don't want to just, all your weaknesses, you want them to potentially and eventually become strengths.
Yeah.
And you want to keep working on those things. So everybody that's watching, man, don't be afraid to really write down and be real with yourself. Be true to yourself. Understand that everybody's not perfect. I have strengths. I have weaknesses. Turn those weaknesses into strengths. You'll be good to go. That's all I got.
So, yeah, that's it, guys. We appreciate you guys tuning in to another week of From the 7 podcast. Again, it's Deuce and it's Stat. Remember, man, stay focused on the mission and run your race, man, because it's only a matter of time before you get the success that you create. And it starts with self-awareness. That's the objective of this episode here. Take this information and start to ask yourself those tough questions and start to move forward with your life and become the person that you want to become. And again, man, we'll see you guys next week. We appreciate all of the support, all the love. Our goal is 1,000 subscribers. So if you got something from this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with a friend, and let us know what you think, man, and let us know if this is something that helped you guys. Let us know if there's anything else that you would like for us to talk about. But again, it's Deuce and Stat. We out of here, man. We'll see y'all next week.
See y'all next week.
Working on a weekend like usual. Way off in the deep end like usual. Niggas swear they passed us, they doing too much. Haven't done my taxes.